Back again. Welcome to episode 30 of the We Are Everywhere podcast. I'm really excited for this episode, and I feel like I say that. I am excited for every episode. But this gentleman reached out via email after the last episode that we recorded and was kind of giving me a breakdown or the cliff notes, if you will, of his story. And I'm not going to share those right now because I'm going to let him share his story. But it immediately grabbed my attention because it's not the typical or standard story that you hear. And by the way, if you want to be on a future episode, shoot me an email right here. If you're watching, here it is. If you're just listening, it's sttf.weareeverywhere@gmail.com. That's the same email that Mike Taylor sent an email to. And here he is. Mike, what's up,
Hello.
man?
Not too much. Just glad to finally get to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm excited. And as I mentioned, I said on your intro that it was you don't have the standard story because typically from what I've seen and from what I've experienced, people I'm like, hey, how'd you get into Phish? And it's kind of the everyone has a similar. I say everyone.
Sure,
Most
sure.
people have that similar story. Oh, my brother's older friend in high school, gave
Yeah,
me a
yeah,
copy of Rift, and it kind of took off from there.
yeah.
Um, yours is a little different. Maybe not how you got into, but your
Right.
fish journey is a
hmm
little bit different. So let's start from the very beginning.
Okay.
When and where did you first hear Phish, first discover Phish, first get into Phish?
Sure. I was in a military family, so we moved around always. So I was just out of high school in Huntsville, Alabama, little tiny town, known as the hockey capital of the South. Just for trivia's
Oh,
sake, a lot of
okay.
like Canadian government contractors relocated. So there's this weird like they have like a hockey powerhouse at like the Division 2. Weird. Anyway,
Okay.
so I was there, and I'd been to some concerts in high school. I think my first concert was like AC/DC, and I thought that was really cool.
That is really
And
cool.
then Pink Floyd came around
Oh,
for the
nice.
Division Bell tour, uh, and I went to see that, and that's where the Phish journey began. It didn't begin with Phish; it began with Pink Floyd. So I go to the show. I was blown away. I'm like, how are these four people? And they probably had some extra people for touring. I'm like, how are they making all this noise and creating all this sort of like an emotional atmosphere, like sort of like a soundtrack for the enjoyment of the evening, brought to you by the band who's playing the music that evening.
That's
So
a
like
clever
they're
way to
they're
put it.
they're creating like this cool environment. So I was like,
Right.
wow, like who does this? So in my head, I'm like, I want a band that like creates that atmosphere, has a variety of styles, and just speaks to me on that like sort of molecular level. And I know like I feel eye rolls already, but it was just seeing it, you get the goosebumps. Like I have goosebumps now just thinking about it. It just happens.
Yeah.
So I got a copy of Rift. I don't have an older brother, so and to be honest, I picked it out. I'd heard of them. I loved the album cover so much.
It's
Never
so
heard
cool.
anything. Oh, it's just so, and it's all the songs, and I'm like, oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Love the album. Like, love the flow of it, love the songs, just the variety, but it all fit. So I went to see them. I have to write down the date as we get older. It was May 2nd, 1994, in Birmingham, Alabama. And the interesting thing about that show, and I don't remember everything about the show, but I do remember they opened with a Pink Floyd song. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, the circle's complete. You know what
so
I
it's
mean?
all
My
tying
search,
in.
it's all coming together. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, okay. They're doing that thing that I've been looking for. They're the band that I always wanted to hear, but I didn't know that they were there. You know what I mean? Like it hit that note in my head. And then we were just off to the races after that. I was just, a 20-year-old, no roots, later on
Yeah.
bartending and then traveling but it was that energy of 94, 95 that sort of I feel like it my fandom sort of mirrored the energy, not purposely, at that time. We're 94, we're hungry. You know what I mean? We're hungry.
Oh,
We're just raging like every machine gun Trey. We're going. But then
yeah.
95, it's like, oh, we've gotten some success, but the I just love the ebbs and flows.
And you
But
were kind of
yeah,
in the same mental space that you're saying, like, as
absolutely.
the band was, right?
Exactly. And you said something, and I've noticed it in a few of the episodes where you say, I can kind of tell what kind of Fish fan you are by the era of Fish. And it's funny because
Yeah.
I've often have thought that myself. But then I think about, well, I feel like I'm the kind of Fish fan that's sort of evolved over time, with that energy of 94, 95,
Mhm.
96, the start of 2.0, everyone's drooling over themselves, it was great, the festivals but at the same time, the great went and it was just amazing. But the tone of the I don't want to say crowd, the tone of the group that I was with, a large group of friends, it started taking a weirder, darker,
Mhm.
like 99 ish. Things started getting a
Yeah.
little bit weird. And I was just remember thinking, you know, I, I'm nearly 300 pounds, right? I'm a vegetarian, which just means I just eat donuts and chips, right? It's not a, I'm the worst vegetarian ever. Like vegetables, come on, get out of here. Give me donuts. I used to walk to a Dunkin' Donuts near my apartment, and one of the nights I didn't wait tables or bartend, and all my roommates would be gone bartending. Like 1 in the morning, and I'd walk to Dunkin' Donuts, the saddest walk ever, and I'd be like, "Well, can we get a dozen donuts?" And they're like, "What kind?" I'm like, "Just whatever."
Plain.
I would eat 11 of them. You know what I mean? And I would stare at that box and that last donut, and I'd be like, "Look at you." And then I'm like, "Well, you can't leave the last one." You know what I mean? They're gonna come home. Like then it's even worse. And then you
Yeah.
got to eat. Then you got to take the box outside. Nobody, But when I say a dark environment, it wasn't just the donuts and the
Uh,
complex carbohydrates. It was
sure.
it was a tone. People kind of going down a road, and I was associated with things that I just did. It were scared. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, man, I did a lot of thinking, and then one day I called the Army recruiter, August of '99. And I was like, hey,
Wow.
I think I want to join the army. And if you would have seen me, you'd have been like, this is the craziest thing in the
Just
world.
just a switch flips just like that. And so
Yeah.
hold on.
Yeah.
Before we
Yeah.
get into this, let's
Yeah.
back up a little bit.
All
So
right. All right. All right.
so your first experience
Mm,
live with Fish, you said is
yeah.
May 2nd, 1994. And
Hmm.
you're about what, 20 at this time you
20.
said?
Yeah. Yeah. About 20.
Okay.
Maybe like just about to be 20, something like that. Yeah.
And so you have obviously you're out of high school and
Mm.
you have like a group of friends that are from high school, or did you just Fish comes and you're like, "Hey, I'm going to this solo." Was it a group of you guys that got into it, or like
Oh, fair enough.
how did you
Yeah.
like
Gotcha.
break into the scene? How
Yeah.
many
Well,
shows did you see in 94, 95,
fair enough. Fair
96?
enough.
Yeah.
I would say so. It wasn't really high school people that I started going to shows with. The one show I went to in Birmingham, I was down there, and I've always been, and again, growing up in a military family, I'm used to moving every three,
Boom,
four
boom,
years. It's
boom.
like that's just normal. So, I didn't, again, I was in Alabama. I'm like, man, do I really want to? No.
Yeah.
So I went up to New Jersey. I had family in New Jersey. I'm like, I'll move to Jersey. And that's where I met people through work and, just going out. That's when I started going to the Wetlands Preserve in New York City. Started to see live music up there.
Okay.
'Cause I think it was Tuesdays were free, so you could get in.
Oh,
So Dave
nice.
Matthews there back in the day, like
Oh, for
so it was
free?
just a yeah for free. It was great.
Oh, wow.
So uh, and it's weird, and it's not a Dave Matthews. So years later, I'm not so much a fan anymore, but they were fun for quite a while. And I randomly ran into somebody when I was visiting my brother, and he goes, "Yeah, I got this weird Dave Matthews CD in the mail." And I'm like, "Just randomly?" And he's like, "I don't know how it got here." And he's like, "Here, you can have it." And it was crazy because it was my first show at the Wetlands. And I was like,
Whoa.
"Whoa!"
One of those like
I'm
weird
like,
universe
oh,
moments.
I called my buddy in California immediately. I'm like, dude, I got to tell you, like, but yeah, so it was a group of friends like that. We'd all go out, we'd hit, grunge was still a thing a
Oh,
little bit
dude,
during the time.
speaking my
Oh,
language.
so it was a really, and in New Brunswick, New Jersey, had a very healthy music scene. That's where Mo came from.
Oh, no
Early
way.
Blues Traveler would play there. In fact,
Cool.
I worked at a like a it was like a called a quick check, and I worked like second, third shift sometimes, you know.
Uh-huh.
And John Popper, when it came in a few times, just completely red eyed, just like Snickers bars, Kit Kats, Funyuns, like it was
Dozen
just
donuts.
crazy. Doesn't and not a word spoken, head down. I'm
Yeah.
sure he's got 27 harmonicas on him, but so it was a really healthy music scene, and that's what. And it was the music itself that we formed this bond with friends. We were like, we're going to get out and we're going to seek out this music. So I'd
Yeah.
say 94. I went to some more shows towards the end. I think I went to about like 4 or 5 more. 95. The standard haunts. You got Deer Creek. You got the East Coast shows.
Hmm.
And again, I love the energy of 95 because it was like the thing that they've been doing is finally reached like a different spoke. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's
Yes.
like the engine, like we fine-tuned the engine, you know what I mean? And
Uh-huh.
imagine they could have kept that same sound from 95 till now. Nobody would have complained about it. Everything would have been great, but I love that. I love the evolution. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and 96. So what we would do is I would work 6 months out of the year. And I was a hippie, man, so it was all cash, which is not the smartest thing. I got this, I got a shoebox full of cash. You're like,
Yeah.
what are you,
What's the
dummy? What are you
saying?
doing?
What's
Yeah,
the saying? It's like cash, grass, or ass.
yeah, it was just, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, well, I got a shoebox full of cash. So it was
Yeah.
like, we'd save and then go. And our jobs were cool enough, and the boss was cool enough that as long as we were there for the busiest times of year and he was staffing, like, he didn't care. So, you make the money, you finish up in like, right after Christmas, start at New Year. And you book your trips.
Yeah.
It's just the trips were more frequent then, and it's funny. We were so half-ass. Like when I go to a festival now, like we've got a nice tents and cots and easy ups,
They
and
planned out.
then it's like, yeah, man, I got a sleeping bag and like a director's chair. That's it. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, I don't know.
Swinging
Just
it.
so half-assed, just winging it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll
Mhm.
sell a bunch of beer. Like, are we really going to sell it? I mean,
Yeah. Drink a bunch of
it's
beer.
yeah, drink a bunch of beer, just see a bunch of craziness. Just so it was just a circus. It was a wonderful circus. You get to one town, you set up your director's chair and crappy sleeping bag, you have fun, rain or shine. You're off to the next place, rain or shine. It's
Yeah.
an amazing lifestyle. That's a lot of fun. But I think at that age, I just didn't. I think I was looking for, and this is going to sound crazy, but I so appreciated the love that I felt from the community and that common bond of the music that we loved. For whatever reason people liked it, I just felt that warmth. You know what I mean? In that community.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit socially awkward. So, and it was the first place where I didn't feel so awkward. I didn't feel like I stood out because in my mind I felt like maybe I looked weird or if I was acting weird. And I'm like, well, everyone's acting
It's
weird.
all
This is
weird. Yeah.
it's all weird. It's perfect. So
Yeah.
yeah, and we it just went with it. It just became what we did. Uh, so I have fond memories. The Great Went was amazing.
Oh, I'm sure.
To this day, I mean, still Went Gin is has to still be my favorite. Favorite jam of all time, and that was an amazing experience.
Y-
Like so many just crazy things happened that it was visually there was a big bathtub in the middle of a field and they had that glider and
Yeah.
the art tower, and it was just you were just all of your senses were overstimulated, and it was
Oh, yeah.
wonderful.
And I
You
can
know?
obviously I've only heard it on
Yeah.
recording, and I can't imagine being there and witnessing that, like you were saying, like because it's not just the music, it's the whole
Mm,
thing, in the crowd. And I had an interesting thought pop in whenever you were
mm.
talking about like this is the first like community, like not really searching for something, but like you found, you know at the risk of sounding cheesy, but like you found like a
No, no.
family or like your
Yeah, yeah.
your tribe. And I imagine, weird comparison here, I imagine that's kind of what people that find themselves that go like into gangs, right? They're like these lost
Yeah.
they're like
Hmm.
these lost people, if you will, and then they link up with this gang, and it's like, oh, these are my people now. Like this is my community. Like I said,
Sure. Sure.
weird
No, no, no.
comparison, but that's
There's
what
some
popped in my head.
similarities because
Yeah.
I've seen many shows where, like, a couple of the Wooks wanted to become Fish members, and
Mhm.
just like the gangs, like they had to beat them in. So they had to
Oh,
walk down
really?
this line, and they're beating up the hippies, and all these bruised Wooks trying to dance to, like, oh, twist, but they can't twist because they're no. I'm just
Wait, are
kidding,
you
but no,
joking?
I'm completely, yeah. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
It's like, dude,
But
that leads into the darkness that you were talking about
yeah,
because I've never seen any Wooks get
no,
beaten.
no, yeah, no, that would do it. I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I don't want to do this,
Yeah, yeah.
and now you can only wear red, and I'm like, now I have to go
Red
shopping.
patchwork.
Yeah, it's all, and you have like the OGs that have like just donut sleeves,
Hmm, hmm.
just be careful.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no, it was that. I grew up in a weird family, so to have this thing where I sort of felt like, not like I felt like I belong kind of thing. I just felt like, common struggle brings people together, right?
Yeah.
But this struggle isn't necessarily like climbing a mountain. It's that
Right.
next show. It's that the next plans. I was the guy that always would tell everyone exactly how many days till our next show or next adventure. I'd be like, hey, 57 days. Like I'm that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
To this day, I'm still that guy. We have the countdown to 46. So it'll be like 130 till the coal runs out.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, the coal runs out 46 to 0. So
Boom.
my second favorite thing after a Fish show is the preparation for the next Fish show. So,
It's fun,
but
right?
yeah, it is fun. It is fun. But yeah, it was a great time, man. But it was I felt like I was on sort of like an exercise bicycle, right?
Yeah.
Now
S-
the wheel was going fast,
Yeah.
and I was seeing things, but I wasn't going anywhere. Like I was just,
Right.
it's
You're
like, well,
like,
crap. What? Yeah, like where am I going to be in five
this
years?
life is fun, this life
Right.
is fun, speaking in terms of like, we're young, we're just winging it, I got
Yeah,
my
man.
shoebox full of cash, like let's go, we're traveling around the
Yeah.
country. And
Screw
then
it.
so 94, 95, all fun and games, loving every
Great.
minute. And you
Hmm.
mentioned the year 99 was kind of that year where, things started getting a little dark, and
Yeah.
you're looking for, what am I doing type thing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
is this, and I'm not asking you to like rat any of your friends out or
You're
anything,
good,
but
dude.
is it the in 99 with that darkness that you're talking about, or
Hmm.
that weird space that you kind of see it
Yeah.
heading to? Is this, like with your group of friends that you're going with, is this just your headspace of like, oh man, I'm getting older, I'm still
Mm.
lugging around the shoebox full of cash and just kind of winging it, with my, like, what
Right.
am I doing? What was kind of that tipping point for you to where you're like picking up the phone and calling the
Yeah.
army?
It's a few different things. I mean, number one, I felt like the fan base in general, at least in the shows that I went to, there were certain pockets that had that sort of energy, right? And that's easy to avoid if you're at a
Sure.
show, you can move, whatever.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like that sort of stink, it, like damaged the time I had at Fish. It was a little of that, but it was more my group of friends. Substances were changing, and like
Yep.
I was like, man, doesn't what is this? Like,
Yeah.
we don't need to do this. You know what I mean?
Evolving in the bad way. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and but I also could feel the music was kind of getting had a little bit of those undertones too,
Hmm.
which I enjoy. Like, hey, I'm always down to go on a journey. You know what I mean?
Right.
Musically, I just don't want to necessarily have to go down the path the people that I'm with are going down. And in the name of like, no, 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 it just makes it all better. It makes it all better, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and it was a thing, man. It was like it's funny because my friends always make a joke that if there's a fork in the road and you ask me which way to go the opposite way. Because I
Oh,
inherently
you?
make terrible. Oh yeah, don't put that on me.
Right.
Because I'll say left and I will deliver that answer with so much confidence
Hmm.
that you'll just be like, clearly this guy knows what he's talking about. But here's the secret. I don't know what I'm talking about, but
Yeah.
I have confidence in any answer,
Sure.
anything, what's better,
Sure.
blue or green? Green. So
Clearly.
this is this major fork in the road, right?
Right.
And to this day, it's funny. My wife helps with the decision making now, so thank God for that. Uh, but I was like, man, I don't know what to do here, and keep in mind, like before all this, like, it wasn't all good things. Like, there were periods of homelessness, thrown into this. Like, there was some bad things happening, and I felt like if I don't do something right now, I'm not going to end up doing something. Like, I was letting life happen to me, and I thought it was wonderful, but I had to shift gears and sort of hop in the pilot seat of my life for a little bit
And
and
you're
make a
like
very,
25-ish at this
yeah,
time?
yeah, about to be 25.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, call the recruiter. And it's just funny. And he's like, well, why don't you come on in? I'm like, okay, here I am, 300 pounds, one giant dreadlock. You know what I mean? Just this.
Oh,
And I come
man.
strolling in the recruiter's office, and
And I
I'm
bet he
like,
was like,
right, yeah, you looking the incense stores over there, sir? And I'm like, no, 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 no,
"I'm
So,
here."
yeah, we talked. I think he thought I was joking. Um, um, I did say before I go, I'm probably going to need a little period of time to kind of clean out the system, so to speak. You know what I mean? So
Ah,
I can
right,
go
yeah.
in. Yeah, they were okay. This is what you want to do. Blah 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 blah. Okay. So I call. I had to work a couple nights later, and I call my boss, and I said, "Hey, man, I gotta go." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "I hate to like give you like such short warning, but I gotta go, man. I'm joining the army."
"I'm in the
And
army now, bitch."
he just laughed. Right? He's like, I mean, I thought he was gonna hang up on me because I was the last person,
It's like,
and he's
right.
like, right, right, right. I'm like, man, I gotta go. Like, I'm going back to Alabama. I'm gonna see my parents, and then I'm gonna go to basic training from there. And he was like, okay, okay. And I'm like, I'm totally serious, dude. Like, this is it. Like, I won't be back. Next day I left. Got on a Greyhound bus to Huntsville, Alabama. I had no money, like at that point.
Wow. And so you
So,
said that you came from a military family. So
right.
are both mom and dad are they in the army, or is this like
No,
your
it was my stepdad. He was a lawyer in the army.
Okay, gotcha. A lawyer in
So
the army. Wow.
yeah, yeah. So he's an interesting dude. But yeah. So there was this thing, and I told them, and they think, I'm sure they had their doubts looking at me,
Sure.
and he's like, you probably ought to like run some laps around the golf course to get ready. And I'm like, no, 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 no. What is it? I got the Mickey Mantle gene. You know what I mean? I don't prep for stuff. I just roll out. I think
The
Bert
Mickey
Kreischer set
Mantle.
that tone. Yeah,
Dude, I was just
yeah.
about to say, so
Mhm.
you fuck with Bert Kreischer and all
Oh
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's great. He's great. And it's funny. Speaking of the Mickey Mantle gene, so years
It's
later, when I'm in
real.
Virginia, it's real.
It's
There was a
real.
100-mile bike ride to raise money for diabetes, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, yeah, sign me up. I'm in the army at the time. I don't even have a road bike. And they're
Yeah.
like, okay, well, let's start practicing training. I go one day, I ride 3 miles, and I'm like, I'm good. I got this. It's a bike. You know what I mean? You pedal it. You just don't stop till you get there. So, I go to the race. One of this lovely local bike shops is like, we can't let you ride this in like on knobby tires on a mountain bike. Are you insane? And I'm like, Mickey Metal Gene, what? You know what I mean? I'm
I
like,
got it.
I might have been having a mimosa. I'm like, just get me on the bike. Thank God he put the street tires on. I finished 85 miles of it, and then I couldn't feel the lower half of my body. I had to like, I'm
Mhm.
tapping out. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's that Mickey. Yeah. So again, I did zero prep for the army. So you get there, and everyone's looking at me because they can't wait for the haircut day. So
Sure.
and people were just gathered around to
And
see
like
this head
how
of
long
hair
are your
shaved.
dreads?
I just had one big fat one, dude. Like I had longer hair, but just one fat one, and it was probably like down to about here, probably
And
just
is
fat.
this intentional, or did they just all kind of go
No,
together?
it was intentional.
Okay,
It's
gotcha.
kind of style. It's for the ladies. Like if
Yeah.
you're that big, it's a little something for the ladies. A little attachment. Hey,
So
Wookettes. You know
is
what I mean? Come on.
everything is
Mm.
everything else, because I'm trying to envision this. Is everything else like shaved and you just have the
No,
one dread, or you
no, no,
still
no,
have
no.
the
I
long
wasn't
hair?
going for like. I just had like shaggy hair and this big
Okay,
old like
gotcha.
thing. Yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah.
one dread.
Yeah,
Got
no, I didn't have like a what are they called? They used to sell books in the Hare Krishna, right? I mean, that wasn't one of those kind of
Sure.
things. No,
Okay.
it wasn't a
Gotcha.
statement. It was more. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess it was, but
Yeah.
yeah. So they're gathering around, man. They shaved my head the most brutal. I mean,
No.
there's little blood droplets,
God.
little salty like tear. One of those tears you can't see through. That's how
Uh-huh.
sad it is. It's like a cloudy tear.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, and that yeah, that was a yeah.
It's an
I look back on
experience.
it now and I'm like, end result, great. Love my
Sure.
life. But
Right.
you know, during it's intense, man. Physically, uh, emotionally, mentally, it's a challenge. You know.
So
Yeah,
99,
yeah.
join the army, boom, head shaved.
Boom. Let's
And
go.
how long how long are you on
Mm,
this, I guess for lack of a better term, on this army journey?
eight
Like,
years, man.
8 years.
8 years. So what? Originally, it was going to be 4 years. The plan was because I had a plan going in. Right. The plan was go in, you get college money while I'm in the army, go to college, get a degree. You know, that's why I got involved in the medical field because I was like, well, there's you know, I'm more hireable. I have marketable skills on the back end if I do this right.
Mhm.
But the problem was 9/11 happened.
Sure.
So at that point, no more classes. Everyone get out of your classes. And I was sent to that 9/11 area to work for 3 months based out of Fort Dix. So we were going from there to the 9/11 site and back. And you're doing
Fuck.
anything under the sun. You know, guard, you know, patrol, armed patrols, you know, whatever was required for 3 months. So before that, man, my feet were on the desk, like I was doing nothing,
Right.
you know. So and then it all shifted right towards the end of my initial enlistment. So now my plan to get the degree and go, and that's kind of well, crap. That what now? I'm not
Right.
ready to get out. Am I going to be in a better spot now than I was then? Maybe. But then there was also this feeling of duty. Like they trained me to do these things. Like I was an air evacuation coordinator. And I'm like, man, I feel bad. And they're like, well, you can stay in another 4 years. And I felt like I had to. And I don't know if it's patriotism or what it was. I just felt like I had all this training. And now they needed people with this kind of training. And maybe if it was a job where you're infantry or front lines, I would have thought differently. But I
Mhm.
felt like, well, I'm not going to be in peril, may hopefully, and
Sure.
I'll have the opportunity to help these people that you know need help. So I said I'll stay in another 4 years.
Wow.
Uh,
And throughout this
and
whole time,
mm,
are you still like I guess missing would be the right word. Are you missing like going to Phish shows? Are you like
oh
missing
yeah,
that life? I guess not so much like the life of just like hitting, and like you mentioned some homelessness. You're probably not
yeah,
missing
yeah.
that part of it, but are you
No, but the
missing like
show,
shows? Are you missing like are you
yeah.
keeping up with set lists and stuff and like where they're going or
It was weird because it was that double-sided, you know, sort of double-sided sword about it, where you know we don't have the technology we have now, where you know I
right,
can, you know, in real time I can see what Trey played last night, you know, in
right.
times on songs. So I did get a bit disconnected from that. Well, number one, because I was in Europe, right? So I was in Germany for 4 years. So that the first half when I was here in Virginia, which is where I am now, I didn't. I sort of changed gears. It's just a different life completely, you know. Of course, I still listen to them. You know, I have my tapes and all that. I just wasn't engaged in the community at all. Like they weren't on my,
Top
you
of
know. It
mind.
wasn't even till later till I listened to like the 2003 stuff and all that. Which is, I mean, if you want to go on a journey. But yeah, no, not really. I saw some bands over in Germany, and you know, and maybe if Fish things worked out differently, if they had come over there, I probably would have checked them out. But for the
Mhm.
most part, it was listening to the old tapes, but just
Like,
checking
kind of
out
like
new stuff.
this was my life before, I'm in
Yeah,
the army now, and you still love the music, like, your music tastes
yeah.
haven't changed, but you're not so much as, like, seeking it out. You're like, "That was
I
then, this is
right.
now." Yeah,
I felt like the energies were just in different spots, right? Like
right.
where I was, where they were, and I didn't overthink it. Like, well, I don't want to go to that and have. It wasn't that. It was just I was sort of embracing this new life, even though I didn't really fit into the. I was older than most people.
Right.
I had some like real world experience. Like it was weird. I didn't fit into that hard charging. Oh God, I don't want to sound terrible, but like Budweiser chugging, you know what I mean? Almost a
Right.
fratty atmosphere. So I felt sort of isolated in the military because I was like, man, these none of these people are anything like me. You know what I
It's kind
mean?
of like Pauly Shore, like that movie with Pauly Shore. You're in the army now.
Exactly. It's weird. It's weird. Although in Germany, I did have a Phish bumper sticker on my car, which all the army people thought was hilarious
Sure.
because they're like, "How do you like? You know, you're in the army, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm good. I'm
Did
good,
they
thanks."
know like who Fish was, or
They know about Phish, like people who don't like Phish know about Phish. You know what I mean? It's whatever. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like that
yeah,
YouTube clip, you just hear random instruments like that.
yeah,
They're like,
that
"Oh,
type
they're
of thing?
terrible," and I'm like, "They're just not
Never
for
even
me. It's
listened to
okay."
it. Just
Yeah,
know
they don't know.
the all the stigma around it. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
you so you get out of the army in what,
hmm
like 2008 to
2006, I got out.
2006? Okay,
Six.
and
So
so
close to seven. Yeah.
close to
So
7. The band isn't together
band
at
isn't
this
around.
point.
Nope.
So I know because I can see the
Mm,
posters behind you, and I know that
yes,
those
sir.
aren't from 94 or
No,
95 or
no,
99.
no.
So
Right.
you're obviously got back on the train.
I had a
Um,
reawakening. Yeah.
so when did that happen? Was that in '09? Was that
Yes,
later
it was.
on? Okay,
No,
so
oh nine.
'09.
Look, I got the goosebumps again,
Yeah.
man. It's the most amazing thing. So, man, you just said oh 09 and it just boom. So,
Yeah.
first show back, Hampton, my friend was going and he was like, "Do you want to go?" And I was like, "How much are tickets?" I was
A
like, "I can't."
million dollars.
Yeah, $1 million. $1 million. I said, "I can't. I can't. I would love to. I love that. Uh, the mothership is a very dear place to me. I love seeing shows there.
Hmm.
But I just, and then the build up for Halloween started. And my good friend Kyle, it's like, dude, it's happened. It's happening. You're gonna, he's poking the bear. And this isn't a friend from old. This is a friend. My friend Kyle and I became friends in '07 through Dave at the Gorge, and
Oh, cool.
he and I we would discuss Phish all the time. Like he was a
Hmm.
big Phish guy. So he was there. He lived in L.A. I was living in San Diego at the time. Uh, Festival 8. I mean, that was my first song back. Party Time opener, Chalk Dust. I mean, oh, it was. I had the biggest smile on my face because it was back and it was different. And it was different in the sense that like Mike looked like this elder statesman up there, not in a bad way. You know what I mean? Like how Jimmy Page has that sort of like white hair, like it just gives him this new cred.
Yeah.
Like Mike was up there just looking sharp. It was amazing. And then the Halloween night set, the last set of Halloween was like the Fluffhead, the Ghost, backwards down the number line, Susie Greenberg. Um, who's it? Sharon. I almost said Sharon Tate. Oh, it was definitely not Sharon Tate. Sharon Jones. Sorry,
Sharon
sorry,
Jones.
Sharon
Yeah.
Jones.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sharon's. With the full horns. So that
Yeah.
was pretty awesome. So that I'm back. I'm back now. So yeah. Went from there, moved to Tennessee. Just wanted to get away from California. No jobs.
Sure.
Took a little break right there, just financially. Went back out to California to see the Trey Acoustic Electric Tour,
Cool.
which is the one where he forgot what year Rift was recorded. It was funny, and he was like, somebody showed me somebody pulled out the Google. And they were like, no, here's the year. He had a completely different year. He's telling a story. And it was just funny because and this was during the Charlie Sheen thing.
Mm.
So they kept screaming winning throughout the course of the show.
And
Uh,
and what show is this?
this was at
The
is it
Trey
Harry
Acoustic.
Fonda? Yeah. And my friend Kyle, we're walking up to the show. It's right near his house. And he goes, hey, I'm gonna need you to limp when we get a little closer to the venue. And I'm like, what? He's like, I'll explain. I go, well, just tell me what's up. He's like, well, I told the guy you were a wounded veteran. And I
God.
technically I have a 30% disability, right? Like, but
Okay. So it's
but
not a complete
it's
lie.
not a walking disability, but like,
Right.
so I'm like, oh God,
You're
okay.
like,
So he
fuck.
sees the head of security, and I got to remember like limp with this leg all night. I don't know what's
Fuck.
going on. So I'm limping, and we're walking past everyone in line for the show. And I'm sort of feeling bad. I'm like, oh, I don't even
Right.
know what's going to happen here. And, limp. And the head security guy's like, oh, thank you for your service. And I'm like, oh God.
Oh
And he
man.
brings us in to this half half velvet couch next to the stage with like a velvet rope and our own security guard.
Holy shit.
So it's like
So
five
you're
of us sitting
committed
there.
now.
Oh, I'm committed. And then somebody's like, oh, Mike, it's your turn to go get drinks. And I'm like, I can't go get
I
drinks.
gotta
How's it going
limp.
to look if I go limping back and forth?
Yeah.
I just
To
stayed
get
there
you
with my
guys
mouth
drinks.
open. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Just mouth open, just awesome. So it was nice. We're back in it now.
Yeah. And it's not a complete
Dabbling.
lie. You are a
Mhm.
veteran
I
and
am a
you
veteran.
said you have a 30% disability.
I
It's just not
do.
the disability
It's
that you
not
were
that one.
presenting. Right.
Right, right. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, because imagine if it was just hearing. I would just, huh? I would just get one of those exaggerated cones, like old school. No,
Say
it
again?
wasn't. So, right. So I was dabbling. I'm dabbling in the fish. Like
Uh-huh.
I'm not really fully. And then 2013 hits. Now, 2013 was my year. And I
Mm-hmm.
say that milestones, right? For
Mm-hmm.
me personally, the year before I got married, right? No kids. This is before Poodle, BP, all that stuff. So I'm in Peaks Island, Maine, for a friend's wedding. It's this beautiful island off the coast of Portland, Maine. You have to take a ferry. It's gorgeous. Very spotty cell service. I call my friend Kyle because I thought he might be going to the Bangor Maine show, the tour opener.
Mm-hmm.
I get him on the phone. Success. Hey, you going to the show? Yeah, yeah. I'm bringing my mom with me to the show.
Oh
His
wow.
mom is 71 years old,
Oh
and she
wow.
wanted to see what the fuss was all about. Because Kyle, like guy, is a big devourer of the fish.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Do you want to go? We can pick you up in Portsmouth." So I'm like, "Let me let me get permission." I don't want to say that too loud. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Hey, blah blah blah." She's like, "Absolutely." So he and his mom meet us in Portland. My wife's there. We have sandwiches by the water. We get in the
Cool.
car. We go. It's her first show. And that Banger show is a very sneaky good show. Like the golden age in that show is absolutely. If somebody ever says, "Can you recommend a golden age?" That is my go-to golden age.
Gotcha.
Don't know why, but there's so many good songs from that show. And then Saratoga after that, and then I got to go to the tour closer again with my friend Kyle, who lives in LA. And they did "While My Guitar Gently Weeps" first set, encore. Like it was just a great, and then Halloween, Atlantic City, and then New Year's Eve. So like that was my like, okay, boom, 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 boom. We're
I'm
back now.
back.
I'm
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
And
So
2013, that was,
mm,
I I I struggle, finding, or I'll say in early 3.0, I
mm,
struggle finding like highlights as
mhm.
easy as I do, in 1.0 or even
Yeah,
2.0.
yeah,
Um, but 2013, to me at least, that felt like the year of like the Carini. It seemed like we were getting so many
yeah.
like hard hitting, like
Uh-huh.
just great dark
Mm-hmm.
Carinis, and I was like, man, so like 2013 is like definitely one
Oh,
of those years in 3.0 that's on my map of like this is a good,
well, I
this
mean
is some good
Tahoe
new.
Tweezer. I mean,
Hmm.
there was so many high points, and I was thinking about it because I had to run some errands this morning, and 2013 was fresh in my mind as I was like taking notes, and I was like, man, let me put on. I haven't heard Tahoe in a long time,
Hmm.
and I put it on, and I was like, wow, it's just as good as I always remembered it being.
Yeah.
It's just, and then I thought like, well, what made 2013 this sort of like, we'll hit the gas a little bit harder. We'll find that space a little bit more in between the notes. And I wonder if it's related to maybe the creative process they went through, putting together Wingsuit, aka Fuego. I wonder if the process of them, because remember it was that one where they said this is the first one where like we all sat down, all four of us, to write the songs. And I wonder if
Right.
that gave that extra juice or opened those doors a little wider in 2013.
I'm
Specifically talking about summer.
Yeah, I'm sure that that definitely had something to do with it, because instead of, Trey and Tom, going off and writing stuff,
Right.
him bringing it back and being like, "Hey, this is what we've got worked out. Let's add some parts." They're all literally all four
Yeah.
sitting in a circle. I forget. they broke it down a little bit of like how they wrote some of those songs, and I think they were all like just picking words or
Mm-hmm.
something, whatever that
Yeah.
creative process is. And I've never really thought of it in that way of why 13 would be like
Yeah. I
that, of
mean,
why we got some
yeah.
meat on the bone, so to speak. And I feel like
Right.
that you're onto something,
Well, I
definitely.
mean, if you look at like the 97, like when they got back from Europe, right? It was that Europe trip that sort of fed that funkier, that 2.0 thing. So I do think that it has to be like every action there's an equal, you know what I
Sure.
mean? So it's the yin and yang, the push and pull. But again, it also goes to that tension and release. So I feel like something new, whether it's 97 in the funk or if
Hmm.
it's 2013 and finding that extra space, I feel like maybe it's just excitement, that creates a greater connection between the four of them. And I'll
Yeah.
say the same thing about 2021, the summer of, I went to the Gore shows, and it was like, first of all, it was like the whole theme of second set songs in the first set, and then at the Gorge I saw they did two Stone songs a night because of the passing of Charlie Watts. But the energy in some of those songs, the About to Run, like there were so many highlights, that Camel Walk, like uh, they were playing with, I don't know, I don't think freedom's the right word, exuberance, or I don't know. And maybe it's that thing you get back that you didn't know how you would get back or if you would ever get 100% back. That's
Right.
a lot of backs. But you know what I mean?
I
Like,
do know what you mean. Yeah.
like it's that last day of school energy. You know what I mean? Just that, and you could
I love
feel it. Like, yeah, like
I
it was
love that.
just I loved it, man. And again, I went to some shows this summer. I went to Raleigh, um, and I went to Merriweather. Same thing, had a great time. I will say that Raleigh show, two things. Number one, they were playing Carini in a lightning storm, and Rise Come Together. There was lightning all around us, and that was
Hmm.
just. And number two, if you're ever going to the venue in Raleigh, don't ever take an Uber. Um, when you're done there, right? That's like they're like, all right, everyone out, okay, go, go, go. And you're like, okay, okay, and you go, and they literally put you on like a dirt road,
Mm.
and you're like, what? So everyone's trying to get Ubers. You can't get an Uber. We're there like an hour and a half.
Dude,
I'm like,
that's
dude,
how it
we're never
was
getting back. Oh,
this year at Dick's. The Uber situation, at least for me
mm.
and my crew, like trying to like getting there was fine,
Right? Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
sure.
No,
But like leaving, dude,
dude.
we're all in just this like dirt parking lot, and there's just Ubers coming, and it's never yours, dude. We were there. It was a horrible Uber back
Well,
situation.
we didn't know what to do, and finally, like it was my friend Brian and Kyle. Kyle's the common denominator on all these adventures. Is I was like, let's just pay somebody to drive us. Like, I
Yeah.
got cash. Like, just screw it. Let's do it. And Kyle's dipped in gold. He has that Midas touch. Like Kyle's the guy that'll say, "Hey, I'm gonna go wash my hands in the river." This happened at the gorge, and you look 2 seconds later, and he's on a jet ski. Like he's the guy that goes up to a woman and says, "Are you done with your laminate?" And he gives her the laminate. It's to the Grammys, and he just walks. Like he sent me a picture of him and Post Malone. Oh, look where I was hanging. Paul Simon, like he's that guy.
He
So
just got the
so
Midas
I
touch.
nominated him. I'm like, well, you should go talk to people.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk to this guy. Like, come on. So he's like, he waves. Oh, we found somebody. And we go up. And I'm like, thank God. And she's like, what? How do I know? You guys aren't like criminals. I'm like showing her. I'm like, here's a picture of my daughter. Look, I'm a
Here's my
dad.
poodle.
Here's my poodle Piper. She's named after Piper, obviously. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And we got a Piper last night. Anyway, so I was like, she's like, okay, dude, horrible mistake. Horrible mistake. It was like the scene from the 40-year-old virgin.
Oh
This
God.
woman was completely hammered. And I
Fuck.
made Brian sit in the front. I'm not sitting in the front because I'm terribly shy. And Kyle's in the back. I'm texting him going, this was a huge mistake. Like, I want to
Mhm.
hold on to the handle, but I'm scared to have her see me grab the handle. And
God.
she's just, and it had like a high center of gravity, this vehicle. We get there. She gets out and wants to give everyone hugs. Again, social anxiety kicks in. I just grab a bag and I
Yeah.
hug it.
Can't.
And she
Sorry.
comes over I can't hug. And she gave me this weird, like, rub of my arm. And I'm like, oh. Oh,
Talking about
anyway,
goosebumps, the bad goosebumps.
yeah, I think the boost bumps go in when it's bad. It's like stalactite, stalagmite type
Yeah.
situation.
So
Uh, but yeah, it's
so
great.
um I want to I
Yeah,
kind of want to on this second half here. We've
yeah,
heard your journey.
yeah,
We've heard um, you know, how you got into Phish, how you got out of Phish
Hmm.
and back into Phish. And
Yeah.
I'm curious, and I think you touched on it earlier, but I'm curious because we've thrown out a few years here.
Sure.
Favorite year of Phish that you always find yourself going back to? I know you mentioned 94, like the year
Yeah.
you got into it. You mentioned 2013, the year that you got back into it.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be one of those, but
Yeah.
out of all of the years of Phish, like if you're gonna throw something on and you're like, man, this is my go-to. What is that year for you?
2014.
2014.
2014.
Okay. Any
See, it's a
reasoning
little
behind that?
curveball there. Yeah,
It
yeah. So
is.
2014, Magnaball, right?
Sure.
Now, Magnaball was on my first wedding anniversary. So it's
Ooh.
super easy for me to remember my anniversary because all I got to do is like, when was Magnaball minus 1 year? You know what I mean? I hope my wife doesn't hear this. I love you, Missy.
I was about to say
So,
you're gonna get yourself in
yeah,
trouble.
no, 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 no. No, it was, there was the shows leading up to it. There were some Camden shows leading up to it. The overall excitement for 20 for Magnaball itself, I was so excited. And the music was, it almost was like it would rev the engine a little bit. It just got me going each of the shows. I can't,
Hmm.
there's not one show where I'm like, okay, this was the show. Magnaball was the show, the experience. Like that second day of Magnaball was the greatest day of Phish. It's my 1 year anniversary. We're cheers and champagne at 10 a.m. Everyone's hugging us, high fives. Just day set divided sky opener, and it's always great when you can call the opener. I called it when I woke up. I opened my eyes and I'm like divided sky opener.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
and it was just, and then we had all those sets, and then the drive-in set, the Magna Tweezer. I'm sorry, yeah, the Magna Tweezer, Caspian, like so many musical moments in there. And then 2014 as well, not just the summer, because then we went to Vegas. Kyle's back on the scene again. Kyle hooked us up with tickets.
Kyle.
He's like, come to Vegas, happy wedding.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah. So we went to Vegas too. So it was just 2014 was just maybe it's not looked at by a lot as being like a highlight in the course of their careers, but
Sure.
2014 is when the music and the emotional feeling from that music kind of came back again, like the everything lined up again, where I felt that special place in my brain or in my soul for them. God, that sounds terrible. But
No,
it
it's all
it it, it just came together. Like 2013 was just music. It was just music and it was
right. Hmm.
energy. But 2014 was like, wow, look what's happened here. I went from this 94 to 2014. I went from this kid ready to rage, you know what I mean? 94, 95, traveling, adventures, hijinks to
Hmm.
2014. And I remember sitting there at Magnaball and the sky looks a bit bigger up there in Watkins Glen. And I just remember thinking like, man, I can't believe this is me and this is my life now. I have this wonderful wife. It's the first person I've ever been with who loves Phish. Much easier. You want to talk about a hard sell in the past. So it was just like, I have this wonderful wife who accepts me for who I am. I never have to be anybody I'm not.
Hmm.
And that's the thing I loved about the Phish community. Just be you. People will love you for just being you. I'm with the closest friends. Like it was just this really warm experience, and it kind of brought it all back. And I was like, you know what? I can be a Phish fan. I can enjoy Phish on the same level that I did before. But I don't need to like orbit the Earth chemically in order
Right.
to do that. And not to say that was my thing.
Sure.
It's just the joy itself of life and experience and friends and the weather and the music and everything else. It just bam, like it just hit. And then,
And
a
that's
lot of
why
shows after that. Hmm.
that's what I love about that, man. It's because and going back to, like when you were talking about having the bumper sticker on your
Hmm.
car in Germany, and they're like, oh, they have the stereotypical thing in their head about
Hmm.
Fish, which
Sure.
is kind of where you were at in that 94 space, right? You've got the
Uh-huh.
one dreadlock, you're kind of fitting that mold, if you will.
Hmm.
And I love hearing your journey because, you know, on face level, like you're like, oh yeah, I'm a Fish fan. People automatically think, dreadlocks, dirty,
Yeah.
bumming around, whatever. but it doesn't have to be that. Like, sure, there are
No.
people like that in the scene, and that's great. There's
Yeah.
places for everyone. Whatever floats your boat, whatever path you want to take your life in. But it doesn't. It's not like, oh, cookie cutter. That's what it has to be.
Exactly.
And I think that's cool. Like, even with the not tangent, the correlation with it being 94 and then
Hmm.
2014,
Yeah.
because with that question, what's your favorite year at Fish, you're going to get the standards like 94, 95,
Hmm.
97,
Yeah.
but depending on where someone's at in life and where they're at, it could be 2014, it could be
Hmm.
'09, it could be 2021, it's
Sure.
and I just love hearing, how you wound back to finding it, like, and being like, this can exist in a, I guess,
Absolutely.
healthy way or a good
Well,
way,
I mean, look at the band themselves, right? To come back
Yeah.
in 2009, right? And I'm sure that was an interesting journey too, to be like, okay, we're going to get back on this bull again. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There had to be a lot of like trepidation and I'm sure moments of anxiety. And I kind of felt like getting back into it, there were moments of anxiety as well, where I was almost like anticipating there was going to be this weird like level of shadiness. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
there always is a little bit. You know that guy that's always looking for something the entire show? It's the
Mhm.
same guy at every show. He's been looking for something for 35 years. I don't know what he's looking for.
It's
But
not gonna find it.
he's always just I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you have you ever found it? Like what have you found? Like I
What are you
don't know
looking for?
what are you looking for, man? Uh so yeah, no, it's important. It's important. And I think too, I think it's about maturity, not just, but emotional maturity as well,
Sure.
taking charge of your life, but at the same time, if you're responsible enough to be a dad, to be a husband, you can still go out and have fun and hang out, and it's still my. I think my fear was it wouldn't mean as much to me for whatever reason,
Right.
like oh, I just have a disconnect. But I think I connect on a whole different level now because I think the music's more expansive too. I think, and maybe expansive is not the right word. Uh,
It's evolved.
yeah, it has. Like
Yeah.
it's just it's such a it's funny whenever they're going kind of deep in my mind, and the way I explain it to people that are new Fish fans. And I've been to some shows with like I brought new people to shows, which is
Mhm.
like one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, I always imagine it's like a whale, right? Like he's going deeper. Oh, he's gonna hit this. No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, no, no. Like in Yem, when he finally hits the. So in my mind, it's this big whale, and he's going deeper and deeper and deeper. And
Yeah.
I just feel like I have a greater love and appreciation for something I lost for so many years, but now I've gotten it back in this whole new wonderful way. Like my wife and I were looking at a video this morning, and it was my son, and I played some Reba. It was a breakdown of Reba in the kitchen when he was like 2, and he's bebopping, just
Nice.
and I just had the biggest smile, and I'm like he doesn't even know how cool that is. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's so awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a wonderful thing. It's such a positive, bright light in my life now. The adventures that I get to have with my friends and my wife. Like I can't wait for summer. Like I can't do New Year's Eve anymore. It's tough, and how you can't leave kids on Halloween. I can't do that,
Right,
But
right.
summer, like we're gonna we try to go to a new place every year. You know,
It's
uh,
cool.
so I think we'll go somewhere this summer. But
Yeah.
I just appreciate it. It's sort of like this weird circle to go from who I was to who I am
Yeah.
and
You've
still
been on
enjoy the
all
same
sides of
thing.
it.
Dude, it's
Yeah.
yeah,
And I believe we
it was
touched
great.
on this earlier.
Yeah.
You dropped a nugget,
Mm,
early on. Favorite jam of all time.
yeah.
We still sticking with the gin from.
Man, that it's so tough. It's so tough. And I'm looking at well, it's either Went Gin, here we go, or on the island tour when they did the Okipa into the Yem, is up there. And in fact, this summer they played Okipa. And my eyes and Kyle's eyes got all giant. I'm like, oh, they're gonna do it. The ultimate combo is the Oki Pod to the Yem. And I was just like, "Oh, come on, right there." And then they went to Susie Greenberg, and I was like, maybe it's good they didn't. I think my head would have literally exploded. So that might be it too. Like that, it's a toss up really between those two. Um, Went Gin is so,
It's
but
really
like
good.
Riverport Gin's so good too. It's
Yep.
tough. It's tough. And then Tahoe Tweezer today, and I'm like, God, it's tough to say. It's almost easier to say what's your favorite jam of each song. You know what I mean? Like you could do that,
Yeah.
but like if I had to go, okay, you could only hear one extended jam. Everything else is studio. I don't. What here and a funny one is 12/30/2019, which was the last show before the pandemic I went to. Now I'm not going to say the Tweezer. It's not the Tweezer. It's the 46 days. That
Oh.
46 days feels like a locomotive. I remember being at that show in the lights, and I felt like a train coming right at me. Like you could feel the steam coming off the wheel. Like there's something just extra stinky about that. And it's not a 48 minute. It's not that. It's just man, that 46 days just gets it. Like I just love it when
After
they kick the door. Yeah,
after the last episode of this podcast, I went back and listened to that Tweezer, but I didn't listen to
dude,
the 46 days. So I'll have
dude.
to
I
make a
twice a
note.
week I listen to that thing, man.
Okay. Okay.
No exaggeration. And again, not the longest song. There's just
The energy in it.
man. And I'm going like I went to some Baker's Dozen shows, so like there's a
Hmm.
lot. There's so much to sift through. It's almost like here's a remote control. There's like 25,000 channels. Yeah, just pick something to watch. You know what I mean? It's the same
Hmm.
thing. Like I love the live fish, but sometimes I look and I'm like, I don't even.
It's
I
overwhelming.
just wish they just had a shuffle, like shuffle all. You just give me whatever. So,
Dude, and I'll plug this
mm,
again.
yeah.
Because I had on Chris from Phish Just Jams. Are you familiar with that app?
No, 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 no.
Dude, that will take out some of the guesswork for you.
Oh, nice. I'll write that
It's
down.
literally just they've put in. You can imagine how much work because it's literally just jams, and you can break it down by like dark, evil,
Right.
hose
Now, is
jams,
is it
bliss.
just so it is it? Do you find listening to it, it's a bit out of context because it's just the jams, or you know
Not
what I
for
mean?
me.
Like,
Not for
no.
me. I'm always and I've gotten shit on before for doing this. I always skip. I skip past the song and go like straight to the jam whenever I'm listening.
What did you say? I'm just kidding. Hey,
Yeah. I'm
everybody does their own thing. I'm
Yeah, I'm
just
like
giving you.
it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't need the foreplay and the tipsy fuddle boozy whatever. I just
Oh,
want
I'm
like
with you.
let me get there.
Yeah. No, it's like Ruby Waves. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
no more prisms in the sky. Come on,
Right.
let's get
Yeah.
to it. Kick the door in, bro.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I don't want to
Let's
say it, but
yeah.
you're right.
Fast forward to 7:45 and let's go. And-
I'll give it a shot because I always thought I'm like, oh, I'm gonna miss, but I know all the songs. It's not like I'm like, well, how
yeah.
does Fuego go again? No,
Yeah.
no, no, I got it. Yeah.
What was that lyric
Whereas
that
it's
I
like,
never understood
yeah, it's
anyway?
like
Yeah.
ducka 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 something. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
what it is, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'll check that out. But
Yeah.
that
If
is
you're ever in the mood to just skip the song and
yeah,
get straight to the meat, Fish Just Jams is the way to go.
I will
Um,
definitely check that out.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Mhm.
Out of all, so from '94 to
Yeah.
now,
Mm.
do you know how many shows you've seen? Have you kept
I do.
how
I
many?
do. I've seen 107 shows.
107.
And
So when was your
12,
100th show?
12/30/19 was my 100th show. I
Perfect.
had the big pin. My wife got me it's
It's
my
my 100th
100th
show.
show. Yeah, it was people just shaking hands, high fives,
Yeah.
and our seats were up. And again, my friend Kyle, here he comes to the rescue again. He's like, "Hey, let me see your tickets."
Yeah.
And I'm like, anybody else, I'd be like, I'm like, okay, I get him, hand him
Yeah.
the tickets, and then he hands me better tickets.
Yeah.
So my friend Brian and I were in the lights. So it was he hooked us up, and that was a great 100 show. We went to this awesome Italian restaurant before the show. I like to always get a nice meal,
Uh-huh.
get a nice base for the show. So I always equate some of these shows to some of the meals we had before the shows, and this was an excellent meal. So it was a wonderful. It was a whole experience. It's dinner
Yeah.
and a show. So
Yeah.
dinner
Dinner
and
and
a
a
movie.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So out of those 107 shows,
Mm,
um, is there a song that you've been chasing that
yes,
out of all those you haven't seen?
I have seen it, but it's been a long time since I've seen it. Way.
Way.
Yeah, it's been a bit. I
And when
just
did you
never
get it?
seem to catch it. I it's been a long time. I don't remember the last time I got it.
Gotcha. So it's
Uh,
still on the bucket, even though you've seen
Still
it.
in the.
It's
I've seen it. It's just been like not in the present tense.
gotcha.
It's just something. And again, it's not. It's not like one of my like top fives. It's just I just think it's a fun song, and I like to see the reaction because maybe the people that aren't familiar with that song are like, what? Like,
Cut
what
your
is
head off
this?
and
And
see
I'm
how much
like,
it weighs.
yeah, what? What did he just say?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He did. It's
Yeah,
just
he
a
did.
nice. It's a good palate cleanser, I think. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like Contact. It's that same sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it was Steam for a bit. I always miss that one too. But then I've seen it a bunch now. But yeah,
Yeah.
Way is really the my white whale at this point.
Gotcha. And on the same
Oh
kind of
yeah, I know
note
where
as
you're
that,
going. Yeah.
what song would you like to see Phish cover?
Oh, okay. And I'm glad you said that. So everyone always talks about Eminence Front, right? And my friend Kyle talks about Breaking Out of Heaven. In fact, he met Trey after it was some sound check at the Hollywood Bowl, and he said, "Would you ever consider playing Breaking? I think it's called Breaking Out of Heaven by the Stone Roses." And
Oh,
it kind of raised his eyebrows, but I don't know. It's funny. There's a couple. God, it's so tough. I'm such a fan of classic funk. You know what I mean? That there's
hmm,
so many. I think for me, oh God, this is a great. It's such a good question and such a complicated answer. Uh, Terrapin Station is my favorite Dead song, and they sort
okay.
of did that.
Yep.
Uh, God, I would die to see him do another Dead cover, and I don't even care what the song. Just give me one more. They've only done the one. Uh, God, if I could hear Terrapin Station again, and I know it's sacrilege to ask because it was Jerry's birthday, and
It,
like I love Energy. I like there's so many songs they do that I love. Like Golden Age is my favorite cover.
hmm.
Actually, I'd love to hear them do "Let's Dance" by David Bowie. I think would be really really cool.
That would be cool.
You
That
know,
would be cool.
that would be a cool kind of. I saw them do "On the Road Again" with Kenny Rogers, who, by the way, at Bonnaroo early in the day we saw Kenny Rogers. And who doesn't love Kenny Rogers, right? America's sweetheart. No, sorry, Kenny, R.I.P. Not a sweetheart. He's singing
Uh-oh.
"Ruby," which is my favorite Kenny Rogers song, and these people next to me are doing shady business off like the back of a Greyhound bus ticket. I'm like, it's Kenny
Man,
Rogers. The sun is out. What is going on?
have a little
People are
respect.
singing. Have a little respect for KR, man. If not for him, for his chicken.
Right.
So he's singing Ruby. I love that song. And at the end, he goes, if you don't know the words, you don't have to sing them. I'm like, what the hell, man? So
It's
I
like
ended up using
butchering
the
my song.
my Kenny Rogers balloon was probably fried
Right.
chicken everywhere. The whole balloon
Yeah.
was full of fried chicken. I go to the porta potty later in the show, and all of a sudden, please, please welcome my good friend Lionel Richie. Lionel Richie saved the day. He did all night long. Oh, thank God, he saved the day. So, and then he played with Fish later, but I was like, this guy, this
This
guy's a
guy.
grump. So I got to hear On the Road Again twice in one day. It would have been cooler if I didn't know he was such a man. He was such a jerk. I
Right.
was so disappointed, man.
Right.
Uh, but yes, that was a cool cover, and I know they don't do a lot of sit-ins, and so that was kind of a cool.
Right.
I don't
So
even know how I got
now,
talking about it. Yeah.
now you know where I'm going. What
uh
is the Phish song that you would be okay with never hearing again?
Well, every time this song was played in the past, everyone knew how I felt about this song. So what people would swarm me, and they would sing the song very. Oh,
Oh
I
God.
hate people that are too close, and all
Hmm.
my friends know that, and they would sing word for word of the line, dude.
Wah wah wah.
Oh, like it's the worst possible.
Yeah.
I love them. I love them. Please, I'm not talking crap about you guys if you ever hear this, but I just I can't do it, man. It's such a crowd killer, man. Like, and the
Yeah.
bathrooms are now full, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I get it's a cool subject for a song, but it just
It doesn't. It didn't translate. It didn't roll
no.
over. Yeah. And I'm sure
And I
there's
heard
someone out
that.
there.
Huh.
That's what I love about this is like I'm sure there's someone out there or multiple
Oh,
people
that's
out
my
there.
jam. I
Yeah,
love it.
it's their favorite. Yeah. Yeah.
What do they
But
say that Rolling Stones song? They say make every song your favorite song. I think they
yeah,
say at the end of that. So it's a little tough sometimes, man.
it's
But
sometimes it is. Before we wrap,
Yeah.
I like to end these, and we've heard a lot, of your journey and
Mhm.
memories. Is there
Sure.
a core memory that sticks out from either the first time you were into fish or
Uh-huh.
this resurgence, if you will, getting back into fish? What
Yeah.
is one of your favorite memories that you're comfortable sharing
Yeah.
from your overall fish journey from tour?
Oh, it's easy, man. It's easy. Or we're going back to the tour opener in 2013. I got to go to that show with my one of my best friends in the world, his 71-year-old mom. Right? I sort of brought it up before.
Yeah.
It was so cool, right? Number one, completely sober for the whole show, right? I'm fine with that. I'm not really a
Yeah.
drinker, you know?
Uh-huh.
And so the whole time we're just shuttling back and forth, getting her glasses of white Chardonnay, right? But also like actively trying to block her line of sight for things that we don't want her to see.
Sure.
But to see her experience this thing for the first time made me so happy because here, like in the fish sense, was this like blank canvas, but was totally open to the idea of digesting what was happening sonically and all around her. And I remember talking to her and I remember saying, well, what do you think? It was so important. I just wanted her to have so much fun.
Right.
And she said, I really like it. I really like the structured parts, especially, like
The composition.
antelope. Right, right. She
Yeah.
really liked it. And we just had the best time. And I felt so good that my friend trusted me. Like I'm a lot of fun. I like to kick the door in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
trusted me to be a good enough friend, to be on my best behavior for a fish show with his 71-year-old mom. And it
That's
meant the
awesome.
world to me. Because
Yeah.
what a cool, I've never been to a show like that. And it was a killer show. It was, you go, like I say, I go back to that golden age. I'm telling you, it's a sneaky, sneaky tune. It's one of my faves. But it was just a fun time. And just, her asking just these nice questions. Oh, tell me about your family. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is great. It was just this wholesome.
Yeah.
And Kyle made one of the speeches at my wedding, and he brought up this thing, how he thought it was so awesome that I got to share that experience with him and his mom.
Yeah.
So it meant even more. It was like this bookmark in time,
Yeah.
that was bigger than fish. It was about friendship and the love of friends and the respect of my friend's mom. So I was on my best behavior.
That's awesome, man. That's
Yeah,
awesome. And Mike, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for reaching out. And it's been awesome getting to hear your story, man.
thanks, man.
It's cool. And I'm glad that you know, found your way back into, the scene, if you will, in
Thanks, man.
a better headspace, I guess, or a healthy
Absolutely,
way.
man.
And
Absolutely.
it's been great. This has been a fun episode. It's always rough whenever these episodes are over because I'm like, man, like it's another
Well,
one's
because we
over.
could we could like because I mean this could split off into a
I
million
know.
different ways. You know what I
It's like
mean? Which is that beauty of like it's interesting. Like I feel like you're a pretty well-rounded person, just in the way like you're touching different topics, right? And I feel like I'm meaning you have knowledge in a bunch of different areas, right? Like you know
uh,
different things. I'm just saying that's the impression I get, right? When you talk about different layers of enjoyment of fish shows and things like that. I'm
for
just
sure.
saying, like, I feel like, yeah, we could easily bridge this into
It's like I
who
want
knows, you
I
know?
know, and that's the hardest thing is like cutting these episodes off because you know I could talk about fish all day,
Oh
but
yeah.
who's going to
I
sit around
think
and listen to a
you should just
5 hour
hang up on
podcast?
people. That should be your signature. Click and just be done. Yeah, that's it. It's not like you're gonna run into me at the mall. You know what I mean? And if you do, all we're gonna do is talk about fish. So it's like it's all good.
Well, in that spirit, I'm going to hang up on you right now. Thanks again.
I get you. All right, man.